Welcome back to Quick Films. Today, I'm going to explain an American horror film called Paramedics, released in the year 2016. Spoilers ahead. Like the video and subscribe. The first scene begins with the two paramedic brothers named Corey and Jeffrey. They appear to have obtained every hospital's emergency tracking number, and as a result, if any victims dial the hospital number, they will also receive the same call, allowing both of them to reach the injured person's location. On the other hand, a couple is having a romantic time when the girl's hand is accidentally stabbed by a knife. Hence, she immediately dials 911 for emergency assistance. When the brothers hear this, they rush to the girl's house in their ambulance. After the brothers arrive, they take the girl in the ambulance but forbid her boyfriend from accompanying them. In the ambulance, Jeffrey asks the girl some standard health-related questions as normal doctors do. After a while, he sedates her and renders her unconscious. Following this, they bring the girl to their location and begin dissecting her body. They extract her body organs and sell them to a dealer, implying that they are dealing in human body organs on the black market. Jeffrey then takes the girl's phone and posts a message on her social media, stating that she is heading far away from her place and will not return. A month passes, and they have made a huge amount of money by trading human body organs. Jeffrey appears to be careless and childish, so Corey, time and again, chastises him to be serious. Despite this, Corey expresses his love for his brother and assures that he will always be there for him. In the following scene, we meet a girl named Cindy who is hiking with her two friends. A few moments later, her foot becomes stuck in a rock, causing her to fall and fracture her ankle. Worried, the friends call for help, and as expected, the same brothers arrive with their ambulance. When Cindy's friends ask to accompany her to the ambulance, the brothers refuse, stating that it is against their policy. In the ambulance, Jeffrey knocks her out as usual and drives her to their location. As Corey is about to begin the dissection, he stops for some reason. It is the first time he has failed to dissect a victim. Seeing his brother struggle, Jeffrey suggests he try again after a while, to which Corey agrees. As Corey walks away, Jeffrey touches Cindy's head and looks over her, as if he recognizes her. After some time, Cindy regains consciousness and finds herself naked in a dark room. As a result, she panics and begins to cry. Suddenly, she notices a CCTV camera and starts begging to let her go. When no one responds, she looks around and finds some clothes. She then puts on the ragged clothes and lies on the stretcher, helpless. After a while, Corey enters the room with some food, but Cindy throws it away. Enraged, Corey attempts to harass Cindy, but she kicks him in the face, which further angers him. He threatens her, saying she will have to pay a high price for it, and then he walks away. Jeffrey then enters the room and begins to clean her wounds. Just then, Cindy abruptly wakes up and pushes him. Jeffrey tries to convince her that he was only cleaning her wounds, but she doesn't believe him and starts screaming to leave her alone. As soon as Jeffrey leaves, Cindy rushes towards the food and eats it like a maniac. Meanwhile, Corey looks at her through the camera and becomes happy to see her in that state. A few moments later, Corey approaches Cindy and asks her to let him check her foot, but she refuses to do so. He then threatens to torture her, and as a result, she puts her leg forward in fear. Unfortunately, he twists her leg even more to prevent her from escaping. As she cries out loud in pain, Corey shows her a pain reliever and mentions that she can have it if she promises to follow all his orders. Cindy has no choice but to agree, and soon she takes a few drops of the medicine. However, it is revealed that the liquid is not a pain reliever but a sedative, and this knocks Cindy unconscious again. As she wakes up, she realizes that she is being assaulted by Corey, but her weak condition doesn't let her react. She then assures him that she will do whatever he says as long as he doesn't kill her. Later that night, Jeffrey looks at a photo and becomes emotional. We can see that the picture includes Corey, Jeffrey, and a lady in the middle who looks exactly like Cindy. Just then, Corey arrives and consoles his brother, but later goes to his room and sobs while looking at the same picture. The next day, when Corey brings Cindy some food, the latter inquires as to how long he intends to keep her there. When she discovers that they trade human body organs, she calls him mentally unstable, as he traps and kills innocent people for their own gain. However, Corey responds that they are doing all this to save people's lives. According to him, a single person's human organs can save the lives of dozens of people. Corey then doubts her behavior and inquires about her plan, to which she responds that she intends to turn his brother against him. Hearing this, Corey just smirks and walks away, wishing her luck. Later, while Cindy is changing her clothes, Jeffrey walks in with some food. This makes him uncomfortable and he quickly turns around. Witnessing this, Cindy gets close to Jeffrey and begins seducing him, but Jeffrey runs away. Meanwhile, Corey is noticing everything from the camera and learns that she is planning to free herself with the help of Jeffrey. Despite this, Corey observes quietly and decides to judge his brother on whether he becomes attracted to Cindy or remains loyal to him. Elsewhere, Jeffrey goes to his room and thinks about Cindy while going to bed. The next morning, Jeffrey prepares a nice breakfast for Cindy, which enrages Corey. He then informs his brother that he has decided to dissect her, which makes Jeffrey nervous. However, Jeffrey is unable to contradict his brother's decision. Following this, Corey approaches Cindy and asks her some health-related questions. Cindy initially refuses to respond, but when he threatens her again, she starts answering. Not only does she answer the questions, but she also starts swearing at him, making him angry. Despite this, he walks out without saying a word. Soon, Jeffrey enters the room, and Cindy attempts to entice him again. She reveals that she likes him because he is a nice person. She then becomes intimate with Jeffrey, inclining him towards herself. Later, Corey notices that his brother is completely drawn to Cindy, so he approaches him and tries to persuade him that Cindy is only trying to trap him in order to flee the place. Jeffrey does not believe him and starts exploding in rage. He asserts that he will not allow Corey to snatch Cindy from him, as he did with their sister, Hope. Soon, he becomes more aggressive and starts harming himself, but Corey manages to calm him down and walks away. In the next scene, Jeffrey returns to Cindy and remains with her. She asks him why they haven't killed her yet, and Jeffrey responds that they had a sister named Hope who looked exactly like Cindy. He also reveals that after their parents died, the three of them lived together, promising to stay together forever. However, when Corey started bringing other girls home, Hope didn't like it and started going into depression. Soon, she became seriously ill and ultimately died. Jeffrey then claims that Corey is to blame for his sister's death. Taking the opportunity, Cindy brainwashes him by mentioning that she loves him and that he is far superior to his brother. She also tries asking him to run away together, but just then, Corey interrupts them and informs Jeffrey that they have to leave for their next job. After a while, they return with a boy, who appears to be their next victim. Soon, Cindy is tied to one of the corners as Corey prepares to dissect the boy in front of her. Cindy repeatedly asks them not to do so, but they ignore her. They then wait for the boy to regain consciousness and begin the dissection in front of her. The boy cries in pain, and Cindy sobs helplessly. After they finish their work, Corey approaches Cindy and tells her that he will continue to do so in front of her until he stops messing with him. Later, Jeffrey pays Cindy another visit, and this time she convinces him to abandon his brother and flee the place. He also agrees to devise a plan to divert Corey's attention so that they can depart. On the other hand, Corey witnesses everything, which makes him disappointed. As a result, Corey comes up with a strategy and dispatches Jeffrey to the market to purchase supplies. He then goes to Cindy and tells her that he has crossed all boundaries. He also admits that he was the one who poisoned and killed Hope. Hearing this, Cindy becomes shocked and terrified. Corey then releases a gas into the room, causing Cindy to lose consciousness. After this, he stitches Cindy's lips and private parts. A few moments later, Jeffrey returns from the market and becomes enraged at Corey after seeing Cindy's condition. Corey tries to explain to him that she has trapped him in her fake love, but Jeffrey is in no mood to listen. In a fit of rage, he starts smacking his brother and eventually knocks him out. At the same time, Cindy regains consciousness, so she picks up a cylinder, knocks Jeffrey down, and escapes from the place. After a while, the two brothers come to their senses, and Corey consoles his brother, saying that everything will be fine. The movie then fast forwards by a year, where we see that the two brothers have returned to work. One day, they receive a phone call from a lady who requests assistance. When they arrive at the location, the lady and her group attack and knock them down. It is revealed that the girls are none other than Cindy and her friends. Following this, the girls transport them to the same location where the brothers performed their dissection. When Corey regains consciousness, he finds himself strapped to a stretcher and notices his brother strapped to one of the corners, just as they did to Cindy. Corey begs her to release his brother because he had nothing to do with it, and holds himself solely responsible for everything. However, Cindy does not listen to him, and hires a butcher to dissect Corey's body in front of his brother. She also tells Jeffrey that she never loved him, and that she did everything for the sole purpose of rescuing herself. Meanwhile, a man arrives outside to collect the human body organs. When Cindy notices this, she approaches the man, who demands human body organs in exchange for a large sum of money. Perplexed by the money, Cindy asks the man to wait 5 minutes before returning inside. The movie ends as Cindy allows the butchers to dissect Corey's body in front of his helpless brother.